Welcome, everyone, to the October 21st, 2014 Shakopee City Council meeting. Call the meeting to order. Ms. Weckerman, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Lehman.
Here.
Councilmember Mokel.
Here.
Councilmember Luce.
Here.
Councilmember Whiting.
Here.
Mayor Tapke.
Here. And tonight we are honored to have Shakopee Cub Scout Pack 917 here to do the pledge for us. If you guys can come up, now is your time.
Boys.
Jacob, look at the flag. There you go. All right, whenever you're ready, you guys can go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice work. All right, thanks, guys. Now you get to go sit down and enjoy our awesome meeting. All right, thanks, guys. We're going to move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Mr. McNeil.
Mr. Mayor, we have one item which would be to approve a temporary salary increase for the IT specialist. That was provided to you electronically yesterday. If you want to put it on consent, there's no discussion the staff needs to make. Otherwise, we can put it on under personnel.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from council?
Can we add E1 to consent?
Let's hold off on the consent stuff
Okay.
for just a moment until we get the
Yep,
agenda.
For the agenda.
Councilor Lehman.
I'll move the agenda with F5 added.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Somebody, Councilor Whiting. Any discussion?
D5.
D5.
D5. Yep. All right, perfect.
Okay with that, yep.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Move on to consent business. Councilor Mokel?
I would like to see E1 move to consent.
Anyone have an issue with that? Councilor Lehman?
Is there,
E1, or move to consent.
Yeah, 10E1
Move
to
it to.
consent.
is
Do you
there,
want to discuss it?
I would like to discuss that one.
Okay, then it
Okay.
should stay off consent.
the term sheet for the tennis association? Since it's just kind of a guideline of where we're going? Or do we want to discuss it?
I would go with consent.
Oh, I thought you meant to pull it, or keep it, you wanted to discuss
tennis?
it. I'd like
10
consent, yeah.
10E1?
10E1, take that from the regular agenda and put that on consent.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. That's that, and everybody's good with the 4D5 on consent? Okay. All right, entertain a motion to approve consent as amended. Councilor Lehman,
Move the consent agenda as amended.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilor Mokel. Mr. McNeil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 4A1 approves extending the approval period for the final plat of Crystal Estates by 2 years to November 7th, 2016. 4D1 adopts Resolution 7501, amending the personnel handbook for part-time, temporary, and seasonal employees relating to driving requirements. 4D2 approves the new full-time staffing structure for Parks and Recreation Department as outlined in the organizational chart in your packet. 4D3 adopts Resolution number 7500, amending the 2014 pay plan for part-time, temporary, and seasonal employees regarding hourly rates of pay for ice rink attendants. 4D1 authorizes appropriate city officials to enter into contracts with Delta Dental for 2015 employee dental insurance and with Madison National Life for the 2015-2016 employee life and long-term disability insurance. It also authorizes the offering of a voluntary employee paid vision benefit from IMED. And finally, adopts resolution number 7502, establishing the City of Shakopee's contribution levels for employee insurance benefits for 2015. 4D5 was added to consent agenda. It authorizes a temporary salary increase for IT specialist Rachel Romansky to grade 8, step E of the non-union pay plan effective October 20th, 2014. 4E1 approves the purchase and installation of a shade structure and concrete slab from skate park for the skate park from Midwest Playscapes, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $11,997. 4F1 approves the payments of bills and electronic transfers in the amount of $2,964,276.10. 4F2 approves the minutes of the October 7th, 2014 City Council meeting. 4F3 adopts Resolution 7504, appointing Lori Brandon to the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment Appeals to fill the unexpired term of Todd Hallett, which will expire February 28, 2017. And 10E1 was added to consent agenda, and that approves a term sheet to be presented to the Shakopee Tennis Association for use of Schuster Park for an indoor tennis facility.
Very well done. As always, any discussion on those items? Councilor Luce.
The appointment to the Planning Commission, I would just like to let everyone know it was very, very close. We had two very qualified candidates, and it was a very difficult decision.
Got it. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 5, recognition of involved citizens by City Council. It's time where we allow folks to speak for up to 5 minutes on an issue that is not on our agenda this evening. Anyone here for an item that is not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 6, public hearings. 6A, public hearing for the East Shakopee Industrial Sewer Improvement Project, number 2013-4, resolution number 7499. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Councilor Whiting.
I'll move to open a public hearing.
Councilor Lehman.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. We are in an open public hearing. Sorry, Mr. Loney.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Do a short presentation here. If I can get this to work. Where's the mouse? I might have to use the
Bruce, the mouse is on the other screen.
mouse is here, but it's,
Yeah, but click on the other screen.
okay, I need to get it over here. There we go.
Go.
There we go. Okay. Thank you, Chris. This is a public hearing for assessments associated with the East Industrial Sewer Project that we did to complete this past year. We did order this in 2013. You know, we went through a rebidding process. It's a low-pressure sewer system that we put in for the industrial complexes out there. And this is the area that we did put the sewer line in, the areas that's shaded, including Union Pacific Railroad Yard, Cherney's over here, Ziegler, I think most people would recognize Ziegler, and a host of other properties. Okay, this is the cost as they came in. Project came in a little bit under the feasibility study. This is a breakdown. The assessment's $503,000, $60,000 from the railroad, which we already got the check for already. And we also have to bill Shakopee Public Utilities for a small portion. Project costs proposed to be assessed were on a per acre basis. We had an agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad, as I previously mentioned. Proposed rate was lower than the feasibility study. Payback is over 10 years. The interest rate is 5. In your packet, I did have the assessment roll. I do believe you had that. So that's included. There's your breakdown of the assessment of the parcels. We had 123 acres for $503,000, which came up to that, which came up to the rate that, as I said here, $4,065.05. Questions?
Questions? Councilor Lehman.
Mary, I got 2 questions. The first one is, does that assessment roll include the grinders and the, is it a low pressure lift pump thing?
Yeah, no, it does not.
Okay.
All this included was our low pressure main and service lines to the property line. The property owners still need to provide their own grinder pumps and station and connection to the
Okay.
service that we provide.
And then the second question, Mayor, was on the very back page, there's 2 parcels that are, I'm assuming are, they're part of Cretex. They have 3 lots out there, 2 of them served off of the side street. It would be
Are you
2707.
referring to this map?
Yeah, the big white one right there. And then
This is already connected to sewer.
Okay, and the one straight up above it? on the
These are
corner?
not Cretex. These
That
are
one, the one to your left, right on the edge.
right here?
Nope, up. That one.
This is,
Cretex too, isn't it?
yes, but it's, I think the way it plotted out, it's part of Cretex.
Does that have sewer now currently?
That long skinny parcel?
No, it would be
one?
270730010.
Oh, yeah, that one is connected to sewer already too.
Okay, all right, those are my two questions.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Loney. This being a public hearing, if there's anyone who would like to speak with regard to this item, is welcome to at this time. Anyone? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Councilor Lehman, do
Motion to close public hearing?
we have a second? It's Councilor Mokel.
A second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, do we have a motion? Councilor Whiting.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 7499, a resolution which adopts the assessment for the East Industrial Sewer Improvement Projects, number 2013-4.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Luce. Any discussion? Councilor Lehman.
Do we have any waivers of assessment appeal in this case?
We got every property owner except for one,
Okay,
but we have not received any appeals
okay.
prior to my knowledge today.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Loney. Item 6B, public hearing for Hilldale Drive Improvements, project number 2014-3. Entertain a motion to open a public hearing. Councilor Lehman, do
Motion to open a public hearing?
we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Whiting, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Loney.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I don't know why this isn't coming up right now. I'm gonna do it this way. It's worked in the prelims.
I don't think it's coming up on the computer screen. Taking about 25 minutes.
It's right there, but it's not coming up right now. Give me a couple seconds here.
Should we just skip over your presentation, Bruce?
That would be fine. Well, actually, it's a pretty good presentation, if I can get it to come up here. Chris, do you know what's wrong with this?
Waiting for the operator error.
I'm trying to get Hilldale public hearing, but it won't pop up. It's down here. It's right there. It won't come over.
Should call Rachel.
Been nice if we
Make it
could
a big
have stopped
bucks now.
traffic and done it that way.
Oh, there we go. Hand of the dock here. Thank you.
That's why she makes the big bucks.
Okay, this is a public hearing for the Hilldale extension of sanitary sewer and water utilities. And on September 17, 2013, we did adopt a resolution ordering the preparation of feasibility study. We had then, we have adopted that feasibility report. We've had meetings with the property owners. I wanted to say that the property owners in this area wanted us to do the feasibility report. We had two petitions which are attached to your packet. Okay, there we go. This is an area, it's called Zosky Addition. It's a rural subdivision. It was platted in 72. It was replatted in 1976. There's 10 lots there. Most of them are about 1 acre. There's a couple of them that are 2 acres or more. Hilldale Drive was a rural residential roadway constructed in 1974. I'll give you a brief introduction to the improvements that we're looking at. The water main improvements would be an extension of an 18-inch trunk line from Spring Lake Lane to County Road 16, and then east of Kensington Estates, which is east of Hilldale Drive. Also an extension of an 8-inch water loop from Spring Lake Lane to Glacier Estates, and there's an oversizing because it's a trunk system. The sanitary sewer would be a gravity system extension from Spring Lake Lane and Hilldale Drive would go to each end of the street and provide 4-inch services. We're looking at reconstructing the 28-foot wide rural roadway and put it back as it currently exists today, no curb and gutter. We're looking at also constructing a cul-de-sac on the south end as that roadway would get disconnected with the extension of Spring Lake Lane through the Ryland Development Dakota Crossings to meet the county spacing guidelines. So additional right-of-way would be needed for this new cul-de-sac, and we did get some additional funds from Ryland for purchasing right-of-way. Bituminous trail connection was added by staff to, again, foster the trail connections that are in the area, and I'll show a map showing what's out there so you can see what we're doing. This is a map of the proposed improvements. This Spring Lake Lane was built by Ryland. Sewer and water was built to here, the intersection of Hilldale Drive. And we would extend sewer in each direction here. These would be end of manholes, end of the line here, coming down to this sewer manhole and going to the west into the Ryland development. The trunk trunk water main, the 18-inch water main would come down to County Road 16, along County Road 16 and connect into Kensington. SPUC is also requiring another loop, an 8-inch line through here to connect into Glacier Estates, and then a water main would be extended to the end of the cul-de-sac here. This is the 8-foot trail that we talked about here. After the water main would be constructed, we could probably put a trail over that. Breakdown in costs. These are the costs for the improvements, and that includes 10% and 30% indirect, $261,000 per street, $13,700 per storm. And that storm there is something that we don't know if we really need or not, but it's for replacing of culverts and driveways if they get damaged or need replacing. Water main, $307,000, bituminous trail, $10,000, sanitary, $65,000. Total project. So our funding source breaks down this way: $10,000 for CIF, $287,000 for assessments, $176,000 for water main, oversizing, $182,000 for sanitary sewer. We're picking up the, excuse me, the street costs, the 70% that we pick up, excuse me, normally a tax levy, we pick that up out of the sanitary sewer fund. I talked to Mitch Rasmussen today, and he had a sore throat. Anyway, the project cost breaks down in this fashion. The assessment number here is a key one, $287,000 divided by 10 lots, $28,780 per lot. A further look at this, so people can understand it better, we're assessing 30% of the street, so essentially $7,830 a lot. Storm was $13,000, 100%, and that's something we can look at further. We don't know how much we'll use of that, but that's $1,370. The sewer, 100% assessed, $6,500. Water main, $13,000. So that brings your total of the assessment, which is the installation of the initial facilities at $28,780. Now, with sewer and water projects, there's also trunk charges and connection fees and sewer availability charges that are paid at time of connection. Our trunk sanitary is about 2,200 an acre. We have about 13 acres that we looked at for assessing, so it breaks down around 2,900 a lot. SPUC's trunk water is about 2,700, so it's about 3,500 an acre or a lot. Their water connection charge is 4,700. Sewer permits, 85. City SAC, 475. Metropolitan Council SAC, 2,485. Water meter, 235. $14,486.10 for connection charges. It breaks down, then you have an assessment, you have connection charges, then you also have to hire your own plumber to make the connection from the street area, from the right-of-way into your home. That's, we estimate about $4,000. Give or take what you have to do in your house, that can vary. The assessments here can be spread over time, and we'll get into that, usually over 10 years, but we're looking at maybe extending that further. And these fees can vary year to year. They usually go up. Another quick summary, $28,780 per lot for the assessments. The connection, trunk charges, SACT, $14,486, private connection. Total potential cost here, $47,266. Talk to the county. We've got information on all the existing septics that they have. Most of the septic systems are 30 years or older. One was replaced, that's address 1975 Hilldale, that was replaced in 2001. Two of these septic systems have failed compliance inspection, so they need to replace their system. In this area, usually it's 10 months. However, the county will allow an extension of time if the sanitary sewer is in progress or it is going to be installed within 5 years. This column here is just when the pumping date of the last, when it was recorded. Two of the systems here, there's no date recorded. So if we're going to finance this project, if there's a project, or usually it's been 10 years, but we could consider a 20-year term. That would lower the payments, however, that has a higher amount of interest. And Julie Lillihan, I don't know if she's here, but she's not here today. But she did run some amortization charts for me, and we can get into that more if necessary. We could assess the trunk charge and water connection fees, but only if a waiver assessment appeal is granted. We did that for Beckridge in 2007. The trunk water, this includes an 18-inch trunk. Really, it's to get a big 18-inch line from the tank on 18 to get into the rest of the city. In the 2016, we're going to be doing the County Road 16 project. That'll have another big extension of the 18-inch trunk line. So that's why SPUC would like to have this line installed by 2016. One option we could explore, whether to install just a sanitary sewer system and just install a transmission line and basically no individual water services. The Bituminous Trail, just want to make a few more points on that. This is what staff has always looked at, making some of these connections when there's gaps. It's paid by 100% city funds, would be in the county right away. And this is the area that we'd be looking at. We'd have a difficult time getting a trail in the area west of Hilldale because of limited right-of-way and a right turn lane that's been installed. But there are some other gaps here that we'd work with the county on. If we don't put the trail in now, work with the county on getting that done at a later date. My sense is it's going to be a long time before they do a County Road 16 improvement project because they're getting all the turn lanes built by developers, so they really don't need to do much more. Excuse me. Okay, alternatives. One is we approve a motion not to move forward on a sewer and water project and allow septic systems to be replaced. That's one option. Two, if you want us to prepare a resolution ordering the project as presented. Three would be tabled for more information per benefit analysis. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. We should be doing some kind of a benefit analysis here to see what is the true cost to these homeowners. I put in your council packet $8,000 proposal from Patch and Messner. This is what we could do. I mean, to be fair to the residents, fair to the city council, and making a correct decision, what is the value? Because I'm sure you looked at the numbers and that looks pretty high. So we would be probably recommending tabling the decision until a benefit analysis could be done. It wouldn't be done until December 15th. We can get that analysis and then come back in a later date and see if if that makes sense or not to go forward with the project or not. Or, again, we would also support not moving forward if there's no support. So, I also did address these concerns that the residents had from their petition. The benefit analysis really would address points 1 and 3, the cost factor. And I think that's a major issue here. Many of the residents told me they like the project, they just don't like the cost. They think it's way too high. The trail was added by staff, 100% funded. Ryland did pay $176,000 to bring sewer and water and a street connection to Hilldale Drive. We also got some money for right-of-way purchase for the cul-de-sac. And Hilldale Drive was 40 years in age. We would not, it was in a reconstruction category even before Ryland was there. They did a little bit of damage near the intersection, but it would be our responsibility to fix that as a city anyway, to maintain the road, whatever happens. The other issue, policy question, if this does go forward, does it need a rezoning? They've asked for R1B, I think, on one of the petitions. It could be R1A, R1B, or Seward Rural Residential. So that would just be another issue that would have to be addressed. Questions of me, or you open it up to the public hearing?
Questions? Council Whiting?
You had a cost 28 per lot, 28,780 per lot, plus 14,486 per lot
Correct.
for 43,000. Did you mention 60-some thousand per lot at one point?
No, no.
Okay.
Let me go back to the. The assessments, this is where people can get confused. The assessments are for the initial installation of everything in the public improvement process. That's what we have to prove benefit in. And that is 28,780 per lot. But then there's all these connection fees, trunk charges that go with, you know, to pay for water towers, wells, oversizing the pipe, treatment plants. That's what these costs are. And that's a 14,486 a lot. Then you have to have a, well, you can do it yourself if you're capable, but normally you hire a plumber to come in and do the final hookups to your house, take the sewer and water, bring it into your house, do the reconnecting of your plumbing, get rid of your septic tank, you have to dispose of that, and that's that cost. So total potential cost is this cost, 47,000. The 60,000 is what I mentioned what the railroad paid.
Oh, that might have been it.
Bruce, while you're on this, could you explain how benefit is found, and secondly, how long before people would need to hook into the system after it's installed?
Good question. Well, obviously there's benefit depending on your situation, what is your septic and your well ages and all that, but typically sewer and water does increase the value of your property. You know, a typical septic system, right now I'm hearing about 15,000 to replace systems, could be a little higher at the mound. Wells can go up $11,000 for a new well. We have in our policy right now, we give up to 3 years for once the sewer and water lines are operable, we ask within 3 years that you hook up. That's the code, city code. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. Councilor Lehman?
Bruce, there's one property out there that's got a fairly new septic system. Put in 2013, I think your chart showed.
2001.
I think it was 2013, I thought.
No, it's one.
Okay, so
It
that
was,
one.
it was
life
this one right here,
expectancy-
1975.
That life expectancy is good till 20 years, 30 years,
Most of them, 30 years is what you can figure.
okay?
And most of these systems are 30 years plus, except for this one. This one must have been replaced.
So my question is if that one doesn't get a benefit for 15 more years roughly, does the cost then get split down to the rest of them? Or how does that handled? They just don't hook up?
Well, And I guess this is a question for council you're going to have to wrestle with. If we do a benefit analysis and it comes in less than our assessment, let's say, legally, and you can talk to Mr. Thompson, we're not supposed to assess, if we know the benefit, we can't
Right.
legally can charge more than the benefit. So that cost, those costs would have to be picked up by something else, you know, sewer fund or whatever have you, be city costs,
If the project move forward.
if the project move forward. If this costs, and again, if this, whatever this costs, this is the one that might have a little more, let's say, salvage value, because the system isn't as old as the others. But we could address that as part of the market analysis.
And then the sewer SAC charges that are on there, what was that, 32,000, something like that? When you had the breakdown of actual individual costs, the storm, the sewer
1446.
connections.
Right here?
All of them combined for all the lots.
All the lots?
32,800.
Yeah.
If the council decided to give a SAC credit to each house, each property out there, what portion of that 32,800 would go away?
Let's see.
Or is that a question?
Almost
that-
all of it, because if you go back to here, you can take these numbers times 10,
Right?
20, you add these two up, you're almost up there. And they still would require a sewer permit. but
Right.
It would be these two numbers, roughly around 30,000.
Okay. So if we hire the consultant to do a benefit analysis, would he be able to work them numbers too? Considering if we did that?
Well, the benefit analysis is not like that.
Okay.
Mr. Thompson would like to weigh in on that.
Okay, so staff would have to do it. You'd have to take the numbers that we currently have, subtract that out, assuming that we might make that consideration.
He's gonna look
But,
at what is the benefit to the property of this he'll take into account what's out there existing. He'll look at that. If you look at this, these three bullet points right here, he's gonna research other similar projects, investigate sales before and after, compliance of existing septics as well as alternative costs for replacing those wells and septics.
It would lower it by $2,900, roughly, per lot.
If you did what you said.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the appraiser would only be assessing for the special assessment portion.
Mm-hmm.
If the council chose to waive the SAC fee, that's something you could certainly do, but the appraiser wouldn't be considering that in determining the benefit to the properties as a result of the project.
Further questions? Anyone from council? All right, thank you, Mr. Loney. All right, I believe we have some folks who would like to speak. You have 5 minutes each, so whoever would like to start, there's a name and address there to sign in, and please state it for the record as well, please.
It's Susan Van Isle, and I'm at 1975 Hilldale Drive. We are the ones that had put a new system in, because we had asked years ago when we were going to get it. In fact, when we bought the house, we asked back in '83, it was going to be in 10 years. Then the 10 years came and went. We asked again 5 more years. Then we asked again, and they said, I don't know. So at 2001, we decided we really needed to change this out. I didn't want to have to worry about flushing a toilet and doing laundry and everything else. So now we have a great system. It's a mound system. And then when I see how expensive this is, we are set back quite a ways on our lot. In fact, we're 250 feet away from the property line of the road. And I'd gotten an estimate, and it's $65 a foot. That alone is $16,000 $250 just of piping to get it to the house. Then I was informed that we might need a grinder system, a grinder pump, which I found out is $6,000. And it's like having another sewer system, because if you're going to leave for a week, it says you better fill your bathtub with water. Before you leave the house, you unplug it so that whatever stuff is in that grinder pump will get washed out to the street. So that's not helping us at all, because now it's like another sewer system. It sits in your yard, it's 66 gallons, and it's like, this is a septic system, and I've already paid for that. So I guess this is what I'm saying. We figured it out, and it would cost us $65,000 to get water and sewer to the house. Well, our house is not, I can't see how that can benefit our property. I've had a realtor come out, he said you'd never, ever see that money back. And then as far as the benefit of the $28,000 to our homes, we've had only 2 homes sell on our street, and they were in the last couple years. One sold in 2011, which was appraised at that time for $223,000. It was sold for $135,900. Then in 2012, another house was appraised at $235,000, and it sold for $184,000. So I mean, the numbers are not there at all. So, I mean, those are the only 2 homes that sold, so we don't know what market value is as far as what people will pay. You know, you can say my house is worth this much, but you don't know until somebody buys it. So, as of right now, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone have questions for Ms. Van Isle? I have a question for you, actually, first. You signed both petitions, right? The petition for looking at it and then the petition against looking at it. Is that correct?
Correct. Once we looked at it and actually found out what these costs were going to be, it's like, I mean, just to get it to the house is more than what we paid for our septic system.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's like really, that was really hard to swallow. And, I mean, basically, we're looking at retirement. We don't, I mean, $70,000 to spend when you're going to retire pretty soon. So basically, you look at our neighborhood, and we have all people who are close or retired, or young people that are just starting out. So it's a really hardship on everybody. And when we had looked at it originally, we thought, well, jeepers, maybe it would be something that we could develop our land, you know, put another house there for one of the kids or something. Well, by the time we finally looked into it, then what it was all going to cost for fees and charges, you have to almost build a house on there, make some money off the house, because you certainly aren't going to make it on the land. By the time you subdivide, pay for surveying, pay for another hookup, pay for fees to the park board. I mean, I did not realize all these fees that keep coming and coming. It was like, I would have almost $100,000 in it before I even sold it. So, any more questions?
Thank you very much.
Question for staff.
Councilor Lehman.
Do we know how many properties would need grinder pumps out here?
Well, I think she's the lowest house,
Okay,
so it's going to be real close, because she is so far back.
so possibly one.
Probably 1, maybe 2, but I don't think so. The other person's quite a bit higher.
Right.
Good evening. You've all seen me 2 weeks ago. I'm Brandon Crumweed. I live at 2075 Hilldale Drive. So a couple of things to add on to what we had put initially in the statement of concern. One of the things that, talking with everybody here, is the trail. And of course, we are that property that's located right where the trail would go in. A couple of concerns with that. First of all, the trail, yes, it would connect Hilldale Drive to Glacier Estates Trail. It's kind of a safety concern if you think about the design. You're dumping a trail right onto a roadway. And the last thing I want to do is drive my car home and run into a bicyclist that might be coming down the trail onto the road. With that said, the trail improvement was initially not part of the petition that we put in front of the engineer department and of course the council. What was interesting is when talking with the city engineer department, they said that that was added 5 minutes before Mr. Loney signed off on the project. So again, why was it put in? And the other concern there is if the county decides to widen that roadway, it would mean that that trail would have to be set back even further and again into our property. So not only are you paying to put the trail down once, you're paying to put it down twice if it needs to be moved in the future. We've already talked about housing values and of course what that is. According to the Scott County, right now our housing value market ranges from $209,000 to $296,000. If you take the assessment and these charges into account, that's approximately 21 to 15% of our house value alone. That's not including interest that would go with the loans for the assessments. It does not include increased taxes with that as well. Other things here as well, we actually had, after the public hearing and hearing what the dollar figures would be for the assessments, we actually invited a septic design consultant onto our property. He said we'd be able to locate a new septic system on our property for less than the cost of the assessments alone, approximately $1,600 or $16,700 or such. Also, both I and the contractor were contacted by the city engineering department and the public works department stating from, again, this is from the Public Works Department, we have concerns with this as we're not going to permit any more septics in that area that are about to get sewer systems in there in a few months and will be required to hook up to it. It kind of, you know, this is, why is my consultant or my contractor being contacted saying that we are not permitted to even do the soil borings on that property? I, in fact, still have the voicemail and messages related to that. And again, why is the city leaving these type of messages when it is the county that's responsible for septic systems? Note that the water main assessment cap is only for one of the 2 water mains proposed by the preliminary engineering report. The second water main to Kensington Estates is being fully assessed against the residents of Hilldale Drive. However, that would also benefit other developments around Hilldale Drive through the looping process. Spuck is the one that wants this in there, but yet we are taking a big chunk of that on us as the special assessments. The other thing that's kind of a concern is I'm a strong believer in the citizens being involved with government. Why were the residents of Hilldale Drive not invited to provide an input into the design process? According to, you know, some of the other firms out there, that's one of the steps that they do is they involve more of the public that are impacted by these special assessments. We all would have loved to have had a little bit more input into that preliminary engineering report, but we were only provided it during that first meeting after it was signed by Mr. Loney. Since Rhode Island was not able to complete their connection to Highway 16 and disconnect several of the, several of the contract vehicles have used Hilldale Drive and let, of course, what we're concerned about is, yes, it may not be necessarily the degradation or tearing up of the road, but the noise, the traffic. You know, we're going on almost 2 years of this. And so that's a quality of life standard that's being impacted as we hear vibrations through our house with heavy machinery operating behind us. And again, I wasn't there for when Glacier Estates and Kensington Estates went in, but the fact that I can only imagine how much Mr. Tim's house shakes with the equipment running behind it.
Sir, let's try and keep it germane to the assessments here. Thanks.
Not a problem. According to the county's website, a properly installed and maintained septic system can last almost indefinitely. However, the wording in the memo that was provided to the city council states differently at only 30 years. Again, it's our responsibility as homeowners to upkeep and maintain those septic systems. And again, Mr. Loney brought up that, you know, we have 10 months to basically replace that. The only reason that the inspections were done is actually those 2 houses that failed were just sold, and that's why the inspection was done, as per laws now. It is 10 months if it provides a hazard to health, 3 years for vertical separation, and that is why our septic system failed, is we did not have enough vertical separation from that. So that is all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Does anyone have questions at all? One quick thing, this is not, just so everybody knows, this is not a fight of the
No,
neighborhood
no.
against the city. A lot of your comments sounded that way, and I just wanted to make sure that we wouldn't have started this process had it not been for the original petition. And so we're trying, and with regard to neighborhood working together and everything, we're trying to do that, and that's what this whole process is. So please understand that that's where we're at, and we're not trying to force anything down anyone's throat by any means. This is simply the process to get to the end here. And so we, from here, we're working on that. That's what this process is. So let's try and keep it away from folks that did things or however that works.
I understand, Mayor, but again, to have messages left on my phone stating that you're breaking the law or doing something that's illegal, that kind of came across wrong, from city employees as well. So
Got
that's
it.
what I was concerned about. So
Thank you. Councilor
Thank
Lehman?
you, Mayor.
Mayor, I'm just a little bit confused here on some of his comments, and just want to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying here, but the trail as proposed is right on the edge of 16, on the edge of your lot.
Correct.
I assume it's in the county right away.
Correct.
And the edge of this road, Hilldale, would be cul-de-sac at the end of your driveway?
That is correct.
So I guess I don't understand how you would be hitting the bicyclist if you can't go out that way anymore.
It's the fact that the trail actually would dump into the cul-de-sac, and it's not necessarily, for what I'm getting at is there's no sidewalks along Hilldale Drive. And so, again, if we have pedestrians and bicycle traffic that's coming off of the trail and down Hilldale Drive, that residents, again, I could just foresee something like that happening, and I don't want to see. I'm thinking more, we love using the trails, don't get me wrong. It's just I'm also concerned about safety issues with it dumping directly onto a cul-de-sac and then a thorough street that they would be required to go along.
So would it be fair to say that you agree that if even if we don't do this project and a water line is run down 16 on the right of way, that's a perfect opportunity to put a trail on top of where we just dug it up?
The other concern that I have is I actually talked with the county, and one of the concerns I had is the safety with the trail as far as the construction. Right now, Highway 16 sits pretty high compared to the ditch that's there, and asking them about construction design, I asked if they do put trails, at a lower elevation, and they said that can often be a safety concern as well for those trails. Just again, worst case scenario, a car coming off the road and somebody being down below and not being able to be seen.
I
So-
think on the opposite side, you've got the hill coming down, which will
Correct.
wash out the trail, so.
And that's the other concern too, is with the trail on our side, they would have to elevate it due to having the hydrology move it away from our property. What's not drawn on the diagram, of course, there's a whole row of trees that would have to be took out as well for that trail to get put in. So,
I know across the street on the west side of Hilldale, north side of 16, is pretty steep there too.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome.
Do I have to sign in first, or?
Yes. I get in trouble if I don't have people sign in.
All right, well, my husband won't come up, so makes me nervous. We usually just watch him
Should
on
we,
TV, so.
should we
thank
heckle
you.
him from up here? I mean, we can. Come on.
He's still mad that he didn't take his dad's seat when he passed away, so just hold that against him. But I'm Tammy Sweeney, 2055 Hilldale Drive. And what we all are coming to say is this is going to be a hardship for us. I mean, look at the numbers, look at us. Walt and I just became empty nesters. Hooray. Do we really want to, $650 a month added, or whatever the cost may be, even if it's $350? Do we want that added to our monthly, what we're making? The trail, it doesn't make sense. I don't know who made that, but why, if we had the map up, you could see how many trails dump into a street. And there's no curb and gutter, so, pardon me, you're coming onto, it's on 16, right along the way. It's coming into the cul-de-sac, going down a hill. So I see what Brandon's saying. Brandon's gonna come and turn into his driveway. The bike's gonna turn on Hilldale. Or a dog, or a child on a trike, who knows? It's not safe. My question is, so then are those people on the trail supposed to go down Hilldale and then take a left on Spring Lake Road, or drive, whatever it is, lane? I mean, so now they're cutting in front of my neighbors to the north. My neighbors will be coming to turn there too, and so will the bikes and the kids and the dogs. So we don't want that. We don't want the trail. And we can't afford this. So that's all I have to say.
Thank
But
you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being here.
Any questions for me? Matt? Mike? No? Okay.
You tried. That was a good try.
I have to protect what we have.
Your husband answered all my questions already prior to the meeting.
Yeah, he does that.
He
But
bit my ear on the thing a couple of times.
we do have to come and chat with you sometimes. But it'll be 24 years that we've lived there come May, so we've done a lot of different improvements and things like that, so we don't want to lose the house just because we need city sewer and water when we've got fresh, great well water, and our septic is fine. We get it pumped every, I don't know exactly, but we just had it pumped in May, so we take good care of it, and it's
Every
fine.
3 years you get it pumped.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know because it's up there? Okay. He's a backseat driver too, just let me tell you. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I just wanted to clarify. I'm Alicia. I live at 2075 as well.
You still have to sign in, Alicia.
I will. I wanted to clarify with you, Mr. Lehman. You were asking about the steepness of the trail. So our driveway, there isn't like a topographic map, but our side is steeper than the south side of 16 right across from us. It's pretty flat there, and then it goes up the hill quite a ways back. So the right-of-way there is flatter than ours, where you'd have to raise ours higher. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? I figured we'd get a couple more takers.
Hi, my name is Aaron Leisure. I live at 2041 Hilldale Drive. I just had a question. I don't know if Mr. Looney can answer it or not. I know they talked about a line going in between my property and somebody else's property to go over there, if you can see the mouse, the loop
It's the looping
system.
line. Yep.
My question is, are they still going to want to put that in even if we decide to not go with the city and sewer and water? Because honestly, you know, is that going to be assessed to us as well? Because right now it's being assessed to us fully cost, and if they still want that in, how can that be assessed to us when it does no benefit for us? I know I had talked to the guy about purchasing a piece of my property, and based on the cost analysis, I was still paying $3,000 for now property I can't use and a pipe that doesn't benefit me. It's like, it doesn't work out very well.
Mr. Loney.
That'd actually be Shakopee Public Utility question, and Joe Adams is here.
Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Joe Adams, Shakopee Public Utilities. I believe the line that Mr. Leisure is referring to is the 8-inch connection to Glacier Estates from Hilldale. In the feasibility report, I believe it's identified as an estimated cost of $107,000, and the utility would be picking up $95,000 of that. We had an agreement with the city engineering staff that only $12,000 of that would be assessed if this project went forward. If the project did not go forward and the 18-inch water main was extended to the south to County Road 16 and east to Kensington, no, we would not require that additional 8-inch water main to be connected. That would only be required when the Hilldale neighborhood wants to get water service. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a looping requirement per their policy.
Actually, I'd like to, if I might, take a moment to clarify something.
Please.
There's a lot of misconceptions about looping and what it's required to do. Kensington Estates, Glacier Estates are already looped with two independent sources of water. Dakota Crossings to the west is also independently looped. The connection that we're talking about is not for looping. It would create a loop, but its purpose is to meet the design criteria for flow requirement across any parcel of land receiving water service.
So that would directly benefit Hilldale? Is that?
Yes,
that
it
would
would
be the only reason to put that
It would
in?
meet the requirements of the Utilities Commission to receive water service for meeting the flow requirement.
Okay.
We have a basic design criteria that all properties extend water main from one side to the other in two directions, generally north to south and east to west, with a flow equivalent to a 6-inch pipe every 400 feet in a grid.
Councilor Lehman.
Isn't the 18-inch line coming down 16 and then down Hilldale?
It would extend from Spring Lake Lane south on Hilldale to County Road 16 and east on County Road 16 to Kensington to make a connection there.
Okay, so would any of these properties connect to that 18-inch line?
The two lots south of Spring Lake Lane could potentially,
There's 4 lots there.
the ones on the west side, and then the two on the east side definitely would.
Okay.
The one on, just adjacent to Spring Lake Lane, I think there may be an available water service from Spring Lake Lane already. So it would
Okay.
depend on if they subdivide it or not.
So the 8-inch line coming in from the east would serve, would then go north on Hilldale to serve the remaining lots?
Yes, there'd be an 8-inch main extended north of Spring Lake Lane on Hilldale for the remaining properties to connect to.
Okay.
And in the assessments, the commission would be picking up oversizing on that 18-inch main compared to an 8-inch main. The assessments only include the equivalent of an 8-inch main, while the commission picks up the oversizing cost.
Which would be consistent with north of Spring Lake from the 8-inch coming from the east.
Yeah, essentially, the residents would be paying for an 8-inch main on Hilldale from one end to the other, and the equivalent of an 8-inch main along County Road 16 from Hilldale to Kensington, and $12,000 of the other 8-inch main between the two homes.
Would the 8-inch coming in from the east connect into the 18 in Hilldale at Spring Lake Lane?
It would connect in Hilldale wherever the lot lines line up, yes.
Okay. All right.
Councilor Luce.
There is a hydrant at Hilldale and Spring Lake Lane, correct?
There's a flushing hydrant installed at the end of the existing 18-inch water main at Spring
Is
Lake
that
Lane and Hilldale.
currently live, or is that?
No, it's currently bagged, I believe, and not available for fire protection.
Why would that be? I mean, if you put in a hydrant, why wouldn't you make it accessible for fire protection?
Because the hydrant is only there to flush the line after a long extended period of non-use. Since this neighborhood does not have municipal water service, it does not have fire protection.
Doesn't make common sense to me, but.
Other than a pumper truck.
Yeah.
Other than, like any other rural residential neighborhood, the nearest hydrant that's active, which would be either in Kensington or Glacier or in Dakota Crossings, they would fill the pumper truck there.
Councilor Whiting, do you have something to say?
Oh, is that just because of the flow rate that you talked about earlier? That they couldn't use it for fire protection?
No, it's because it's a currently dead-end, unlooped water main that was installed only because the road was being put in, so it wouldn't have to be dug up in the future.
Okay.
You know, fire protection is a benefit of being on the municipal water system. The utility replaces all water mains and all hydrants and maintains the system, and the revenue for that comes from water sales.
Got it.
I don't.
All right, any other questions from council? Anyone else from the audience like to speak? This will be your last chance. on this night, I suppose, is a better way to say that. All right, anybody else? We're going to close the public hearing then. All right, entertain a
Mr.
motion.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before you close the public hearing, if there is a sense to continue this, you might
Oh.
not want to close the hearing, you might just want to continue it to a date certain. I don't know what the council's, but so you can still discuss it among yourselves without closing the hearing until we decide what you want to do.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right, we're not going to close the public hearing. Councilor Whiting.
I think that it's important that we take a look at this a little more seriously and take a look at the cost benefit to the properties, because if it doesn't match, then that whole assessment would be lowered. We could add on, possibly, after discussion, some SAC credits, some other options we might find. So I would be in favor of continuing this and waiting for a cost-benefit analysis on the assessment.
All right, so was that a motion?
Mr. Mayor, before doing that, Bruce, when do you think the appraisal will be coming back again? Did you say December?
It said it'd be back by December 15th, and I think I put in the memo, if we were going to continue the hearing, it might want to set a date like January 20th.
That was my, it should be continued to a date
Yeah.
certain, so the residents here know when to come back. I'm sure Bruce will be contacting, but if you're going to continue it, let's continue it to a date certain, because what you're doing is continuing the public hearing also.
Okay. Did you get that, Councilor Whiting?
I'm trying to find, I thought I seen that written down here, but
It's under recommendations. Second paragraph.
you want to make that recommendation since you have it?
Councilor Mokel.
I'd like to make a recommendation to continue the public hearing until the special benefit analysis is presented, and with staff recommendation around January 20th, 2015.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilor Whiting.
Just to be clear, so the motion is to continue the public hearing until the city council meeting on January 20th.
Right.
Yes.
Discussion. Councilor Lehman.
At which time we're gonna look at a benefit analysis report.
Right. All right, does everybody understand what that means out there? Head nods, yeah? Basically what this is that we're going to do a cost-benefit analysis, because you can only be assessed on your property the benefit of the improvements. And so we're going to see what the actual benefit of the improvements would be on the properties, which would then give us a much better idea of what numbers we're talking about. So whether it would be, $1,000 a month or a couple $100 a month, or what that would be. And so it will tell us what those numbers actually would be. I don't know, would it be per parcel, Bruce?
Yeah, it'll give
Yeah.
us a pretty good idea per parcel.
Okay, and so we'll have a good idea, a much better idea dollar-wise what we're talking about, as opposed to just general numbers. Because as many of you had said, I can't imagine that the benefit would be to the properties would be as much as the costs we're talking about here. And so I would like to know, I think council is heading that direction, as to what that actual cost, what the benefit would be that would be assessed, and then how much of the rest of that the city would need to pick up, and then from there if it makes sense. So I think that is the direction it looks like. Any other discussion from council? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, so you can all put another wonderful date of January 20th, 2015 in your calendars. All right? Thank you. Moving on to a third public hearing for the night, number 6C, public hearing on issuance of solid waste revenue bonds for Recovery Technology Solutions, Shakopee LLC, resolution number 7503. And Councilor Lehman,
Open a public hearing.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Whiting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Wait for a minute here.
Thank you all for coming. See you. Have a great night. Thanks for letting Ms. DiMaggio in. Or maybe not. One or the other.
Did you open the public hearing? I'm sorry.
It is open. Yes. You're on.
Sign in, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. For my loyal viewers at home, I am Samantha DiMaggio, the Economic Development Coordinator for the city.
Did you mean your
And-
kids? Is that what you meant?
Yours, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to give you a brief overview of RTS. I think that we discussed them last year, but we have some new council members. So I wanted to give you just a brief company history. And then we have Miss Julie Eddington here to discuss the bonds with you. And we also have representatives from RTS here if you have questions. So RTS stands for Recovery Technology Solutions. They are a startup company that maybe started, what, like a year ago now?
2011.
2011, but here in Shakopee.
Well, yeah, probably.
Probably about a year.
We bought the property in
September of last year. So for those of you who don't know, what they do at Recovery Technology Solutions is they are an asphalt shingle recycler. So I'm going to let them tell you the rocket science behind it, but they basically take the asphalt shingles and they save them from going to the landfill. Instead, they're able to extract things out of it, such as the fiberglass, the felt, the minerals, any different fillers, things that they use inside there, and they're able to repurpose them. So they'll take those materials and they can sell them back to the manufacturers, such as our manufacturers that we have here in town. I think Bituminous is one that you'll sell some things back to, correct?
Bituminous and Certainty.
And Certainty, and so they'll actually sell things back that they extract from there. They have two facilities here in Shakopee. One of them is the recycling facility. That is a 32,000 square foot facility. They hope to have 22 full-time employees at that facility. The second is their corporate headquarters. This is the first of its kind, and if everything goes well here, they plan to expand in the future, but they will keep their corporate headquarters here in Shakopee. They hope to have 30 full-time employees there. Their average salary is between $19 and $24 an hour, and total investment for everything is about $25 million. And I know how much you love my pictures, so that is not a Sam DiMaggio picture, but I thought I would throw it in there just to see if I threw any of you for the loop. That is the picture that Brian sent to me, so I appreciated him sending that on to me. That is a picture of RTS. I did want to point out, and I don't know if they were going to mention this to you, you can actually see a stockpile of asphalt shingles in the picture. So what I was told is that is about a 20-day, that is about what would go to the landfill in 20 days. That is sitting in that pile. So every 20 days, they are saving that many shingles from going to DEMCON or to a different landfill, and instead they'll be able to recycle them and to repurpose them. So next, I believe Miss Eddington is gonna come speak to you, but I'll stay right here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Julie Eddington. I'm with Kennedy and Graven, and I represent the city as their public finance counsel. We've talked about this issue before last year, but there are new members, so I'll go through the process here. So RTS came to the city last year and requested that they issue exempt facility bonds. Those are bonds that you have to go to the state to get volume allocation for. They do not interfere with the city's ability to issue bonds of their own. Specifically bank qualified bonds, where you get the 10 million of bank qualified bonds every year. That doesn't interfere with that allocation that you have. The bonds themselves are proposed to be in the amount of up to $16 million, and they are to finance a portion of the costs of the facility that you can see is already built. They received some temporary construction financing to initially finance the project, and now they're hoping to get tax-exempt bonds for a longer term at a cheaper interest rate through the city. If the city chooses to issue the bonds, these bonds would be solely the responsibility of RTS. And the process would be that the city issues the bonds, there is a trustee involved, so RTS pays the trustee all of the debt service payments for the bonds and anything else that needs to be paid with respect to the bonds, and the trustee then sends those payments on to the bondholder. There's currently one bondholder that is committed to buying the bonds, and they may participate it out to others, but there is one that is part of the process right now, looking at the documents and that kind of thing. So they do have a buyer ready to go. There is a little bit of a hitch with this deal. pursuant to state law, there has to be some sort of public ownership in the property. And so, in order to get volume cap from the state, the federal government, the federal tax regs do not require a public, some type of public ownership, but the state law does. And so to satisfy that requirement of a state law, we have created a base lease. It's also called the real estate improvements and equipment lease. And what that does is the city takes a leasehold interest in the property from RTS. So everything, the property, the building, the equipment inside. And then on the very same day, leases everything back to RTS. And RTS promises to pay all of the debt, to fully indemnify the city for any environmental issues that may arise with respect to the facility, and all other liability that could possibly arise pursuant to the lease or any bond matter. Other documents that are on file with the city also provide indemnity to the city, including the lease from city to RTS. So it's our opinion that the city is fully indemnified for this project, for any environmental matter or for any other costs that may arise with respect to the bonds. Some other information that you should know is that this type of bond issue, a conduit bond issue, will not affect the city's credit rating when you go out to do your own bonds. And if there is a default under any of these documents, or the bonds, for some catastrophic reason, the bonds go into default, there won't be any liability with respect to the city. There are also provisions in the documents that say, for example, if there's an IRS audit, that they'll take care of that. They'll make sure to pay all the fees that relate to that, and they'll pay for the city's legal fees and that kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions with respect to the bonds or the bond documents?
Councilor Lehman.
Well, there's a lot of documents. I did take the liberty to read all of these, and there's a lot of little things that I have a lot of curiosity about. One of the documents says that any court proceedings are in the state of New York. I was wondering why that was.
That is incorrect. That should be Minnesota.
Okay. That needs to be changed in the document.
Yes.
Waive all rights to any kind of jury court proceedings.
And I've said that the city will not agree to that.
Okay. Maybe I could read an updated version of.
Sure.
There's a lot of spaces that ain't filled in.
Right, and I apologize for that. A lot of the documents are in their second draft. They can't be completely filled in until we know a little bit more information about when the closing will happen, the exact amount of the bonds, those different issues.
Them empty spaces didn't bother me so much as the empty spaces that were information that just was empty.
Okay.
So, how much are we leasing the property, the ground lease, from them for?
$1.
And they're leasing it back for $2?
The city is, or the RTS is leasing it back for all of the bond debt service.
No,
So-
that's just to pay the bonds back.
Right. Right, so the city
But
is.
they're leasing the property back from us
And the
at
lease.
$1 or more.
The lease payments pursuant to the lease agreement, are the debt service payments on the bonds.
So they're gonna lease it back from us. But that money goes to pay the bonds, doesn't cover the $1 that it costs us to lease it from them.
Well, you didn't hear this from me, but the dollar actually isn't paid.
Okay.
Councilor Whiting.
There are fees that the city collects for doing this process. Can we elaborate? I don't know if, Julie, you want to do that?
Sure,
or Sam?
sure. So, first of all, RTS pays for all the costs related to the bond issuance. They also will pay the city a $77,000 fee for issuing the bonds on their behalf.
We'll get the buck back.
I'm sorry, is that?
50,000.
I'm sorry, it's 50,000.
Okay.
I'd take 77.
I'm sorry, that was a different deal I'm working on, I'm sorry. So $50,000 goes, so the city has a fee of 1% of the principal amount of the bond, and it's capped at $50,000. That's in your most recent conduit bond policy.
That's Lehman.
A lot of the things that concerned me in the documents, I think, were initiated by UMB Bank. I think it's a lot of their verbiage that they're requiring. Is that, are you able to, I think some of their documentation said New York and things like that.
I think that the New York part came in actually from the bond purchaser. UMB has just joined the deal as the trustee.
Okay.
So they have, their comments haven't.
Following along with what was already there?
UMB hasn't commented on fully commented on the documents yet. They were just joined to the deal. But we have talked to the parties in the deal, and they do understand that it has to be Minnesota law, and that the city will not be waiving their jury trial.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Anyone from the audience? This is public hearing. Anyone have anything they'd like to say? Yes, sir.
Hey, Mayor, Council, Jordan Olson. I live at 249 Mount Street. I've been a little bit curious about this myself. I think Matt actually asked a couple of questions I had, but you only briefly touched on this environment issue. I'm just curious, this is a shingle recycling plant. What kind of dangers would this actually present to the environment?
Hi, I'm Brian Meyer. I'm the CFO of RTS. We're regulated by the EPA, and we use a chemical called toluene. Toluene is.
Brian, could you?
Sorry.
Yeah, it addresses us. Jordan, you can go ahead and sit down. And yeah, it addresses us, and then also speaking to the microphone, please.
Sure, no
You're
problem.
tall like
Sorry
I am.
about that. We use a chemical called toluene. Toluene is regulated by the EPA, and our air permit is very stringent, and we are allowed to lose 1 gallon of toluene for every ton that we produce of asphalt. So, and we have to measure that on a monthly basis, and so basically the EPA has taken into consideration all of the citizens of the community to make sure that it is safe for the community.
Thank you. If you have any follow-up questions, you can come back up. But
Yeah, one. I'm sorry, but could you maybe just give us like a really brief, what kind of process is this that you take a shingle and turn it into asphalt? Is there burning involved? Is there going to be smoke involved? I mean, can you just give me a quick rundown?
Yeah, no problem. The tall building that you see in the picture here, that's the extraction building. And what we do is we grind the shingles up, which you see on the pad there, and then we put them through a dryer so they're dry when they go into, there's an extractor which actually holds the toluene. It's in there for about an hour, and then out one end comes the asphalt, out the other end comes the solids, which is your granulars and your calcium carbonate. The asphalt goes into those big tanks that you see back there, and the granulars will go into the big silos that are under construction in this picture. So there is no burning. The toluene is self-contained. It does go into a gas, but in that big building, we also bring that back down to a liquid form and reuse it.
And then also to Mr. Olson's question, is there any odors, noise, all those kinds of things, anything that is above and beyond what we normally hear?
You've got the big building in there. In that, well, the big building up front, right by the shingle pad, is a rotor chopper. So you'll be chopping the shingles. I don't know what kind of noise is going to come out of there. There is noise in the extraction building, but it's self-contained, so I don't think there's going to be much noise that comes out of there. Odors, toluene is the chemical term for paint thinner. So if you smell paint thinner, that's what toluene is.
But everything is enclosed
Everything is
completely.
enclosed, and once again, we can't lose the toluene, by air permits. So we're very conscientious of that.
Right. Thank you. Councilor Lehman.
Toluene, since I've worked with it for a few years, evaporates very fast, like rubbing alcohol or mineral spirits. So I assume you're using it in some kind of a containment type. tank.
The piping, you can, I don't know if I can do the map here. Where's? Oh, okay. There is a white tank out by the big silver tanks there. That's the main tank that comes in, and everything is sealed. And we pressure tested it with water prior to loading it with toluene. Once again, we're very conscientious of losing any toluene through vapors, because it hits us on the air permit.
Well, and it hits them in the pocketbook, because then you gotta buy more of it.
Well, yeah.
If you keep it contained, you can keep reusing it and then filtering it and reusing it.
Yes,
until it
and
loses its
yeah.
properties.
We have mineral oil that scrubs it at the end too, so it keeps being reused.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Again, public hearing. Anyone else has further questions? I'm going to close the public hearing. All right. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Councilor Mokel.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Luce. Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Any other questions of staff or motion on this one? Councilor Whiting.
Make a motion approving resolution number 7503, a resolution authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of revenue bonds for the benefit of Recovery Technologies Solutions Shakopee LLC, and approving a form of authorizing and the execution, delivery of the bonds and the related documents.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Luce. Discussion. Councilor Whiting.
Just a comment. This is interesting technology. We have right across the street the asphalt plant. We have down the road a shingle plant. You see in the picture, I know it brings back a little tear to Councilor Lehman's eye, but because of the old racetrack there, but he didn't say anything. But this is taken out of the landfill, so this is a great opportunity. Helping this process along, I think, is a good opportunity and a great way to recycle product.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1 with Councilor Lehman in dissent. Yes, sir.
Can I get a copy of the final documents?
All right, we entertain a motion to, we had no business removed from consent. Number 7, number 8, entertain a motion to recess to economic development.
We did have 4E1 was removed.
4E1 was removed from consent?
Yep.
I
No?
don't think that made it.
Who made the shade structure off?
No.
I thought I had,
She
but
put 10E1 on consent.
Yeah, we took one off and put one on, and I think Luce took off the shade structure at the park.
Oh, that has already been approved. It was not removed from consent. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. We can still discuss if you'd like. I know Ms. Polly left.
She is gone.
But if you have any questions,
I didn't take it off.
okay.
my question was just the fact of what it would cost us to have staff do it versus farming it out.
Got it.
It'd be cheaper, but the memo said staff was busy gearing up for winter, I would imagine.
Just don't have the scheduling available right now.
Right.
Okay. All right. So consent, entertain a motion to recess for Economic Development Authority meeting. Councilor Mokel,
I will make a motion to recess for the Economic Development Authority meeting.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Luce. Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. President Lehman.
Thank you, sir. Secretary, would you please note the roll?
Yes, Mr. President.
You all should have an agenda in front of you. A motion to approve it would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tabke, seconded by Kathy Mokel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Consent includes our minutes and our bill list. On our bill list, Mr. Whiting,
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
seconded by
Second.
Mr. Tabke. Any discussion? And I'll make a comment. The $500,000 on the bill list was a pass-through amount, I'm sure, for the Minnesota Business Fund loan.
Yep, that came in from the Minnesota Investment Fund, so we got it in and we passed it right back out to Rosemont Emerson.
So it didn't actually come out of our coffers, it right on through.
Excellent, yep.
Very good. Any other discussion on? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
Motion to adjourn to Tuesday, November 18th, 2014 at 7 PM. I have baseball to watch.
Is there a second? Motion by Tabke, seconded by Mr. Whiting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We are adjourned, and another record has been set.
Well done. All right, item 10E1 was approved on consent agenda. Other business, item 11. Just want to make sure that everyone knows the job fair is this Thursday from 10 to 3. There's a pre-meeting with the employers, and everyone from council is welcome to come to at 9:30 on Thursday morning. We have maxed out the number of employers there, which is beyond exciting, and hope to have around 1,000 employees there. So it is at Canterbury Expo Center, Canterbury Park Expo Center. Thank you. Councilor Whiting.
Who's putting that on?
That is, Sam has been, Ms. DiMaggio has been working on a good portion of that, but we're doing it in conjunction with First Stop Shop at the county, and as well, Minnesota DEED, Department of Employment and whatever DEED stands for right
so
now.
it's at Canterbury on what date?
Canterbury, this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's a 9:30 pre-meeting.
That's my suggestion. I'd like to see it go a little later, so people that have a job and like to upgrade, could maybe keep it till 6 or 7 would be better next time, but.
All of the, that is more a employer mandated thing as to when they want to be there, but all of the employers that are there will be available for contacting. So there will be.
Cards handed out and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think it'll be on our website, and I know it's going to be on DEED's website for all the employers that are present and contact information for them. So if people have people they want to check out, they can do it that way. All right, any other business? Councilor Mokel,
I'll make a motion to adjourn to November 5th, 2014 at 7 PM.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilor Luce. Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. We are adjourned.